Hello and welcome to this Wolsey Hall Oxford homeschooling information webinar. This webinar is for families with students from our youngest students of maybe 3.5 to 4, right up to our oldest students at A level of maybe 16 to 18 years of age. We've got families joining us from all around the globe today, so a really big welcome to you all, whether it's morning, afternoon or evening. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Lynn Stacey, Head of Marketing here at Wolsey Hall. And just to let you know, we will be recording this event and we'll send out links to the recording to you all a few days after the event. It will be sent by a Zoom email rather than a Wolsey Hall email, very similar to the ones you've been getting reminding you of this event. So do look out for that. And then you can share, rewatch the video, share it with family members, etc. To your heart's content then. So the format for today will be a presentation followed by a question and answer session. You'll find the question and answer area where you can type your questions at the bottom of the screens. And we would ask that if you are typing a question about your child that you just put in the age and level of education that they're at, because it makes it a bit easier for us to tailor our answers for you. However, we would recommend that you wait until the end of the presentation before adding to the questions to the Q&A. We have put together a really detailed presentation for you, and we hope that many of your questions will actually be covered in that. So do listen to the end of that, and then we're very happy to answer your questions afterwards. Please note, we won't be answering any questions that are specific to an individual child today. For these types of questions, please put in an inquiry form, and our admissions team will be very happy to talk to you on a one-to-one basis about everything and anything about your child and the tailored education you're looking for them. We'll be putting a website address for the inquiry form at the end of the presentation section, so that will be on the screen for you to see where to go to ask us questions. So I'm joined here today by a number of colleagues who will be answering questions in the Q&A area, including our tutor team, our admissions team, our supervisors of courses. And for the presentation, I am joined by Christine Armstrong, head teacher, and Joe Reimer, supervisor of courses. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Christine and Joe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lynn. And I'd just like to extend a warm welcome to everyone that has joined us for this event. And thank you all for your attendance. I hope you find the information we're sharing today useful in making that decision about whether homeschooling with Wolsey Hall is the right option for you. So just to start, I just wanted to share our partnership with Cambridge and Pearson, and just share with you that we are both Cambridge registered and we are also a Pearson virtual centre. So we work really closely with Cambridge and Pearson, who are two of the main examination bodies when your child reaches those stages of examinations that lead to university college career entry. As well as working with both of these institutions for examinations, we are also a Cambridge registered online school. So we are part of the family of Cambridge schools around the world, of which there are hundreds. And we are really proud to be the first online primary school registered with Cambridge as well. So we do ensure that we are following the curriculum for Cambridge, as well as in the examination years, the content for Pearson where needed, but also as well, we align to the English national curriculum as well. So you can be assured that if your child is following courses with Wolsey Hall, that they are covering Cambridge and Pearson content that's needed for examinations. If they're pre-examination phase, they are covering Cambridge curriculum, and also as well, they are covering everything that's needed in the English national curriculum as well. So we're very proud to be associated and affiliated to both Cambridge and Pearson, and also as well follow the English national curriculum.
A very warm welcome from me too. My name is Jo Ryman. I'm one of the supervisor of courses here at Wolsey Hall. A little bit about us at Wolsey Hall Oxford. So we are a very long established school founded in 1894, and that was in conjunction with the penny post. But obviously we've come a very long way from there with the internet revolutionizing our company. We cater for a global audience. We've got students in over 125 countries, and those students are aged between 3.5 to 4 years old, right up until 18 years old, although we have a number of mature students who study with us as well. We're fiercely proud of all of our students. I'm very privileged because I actually tutor some of my children and my nephew with Wolsey Hall courses. So I see the school from both sides of the fence. But we're incredibly proud of all of our students, but we also have some incredibly important and proud alumni, including Nelson Mandela. So we are a very well-established school, and you can be reassured of that if you're to join Wolsey Hall Oxford.
Thank you, Jo. So just to briefly answer the question of why choose Wolsey Hall, I hope by the time we've finished the presentation today, it will give you a really good sense of why Wolsey Hall is the right choice for you and your family. But as Jo mentioned, we were established in 1894, and obviously Wolsey Hall looks a little bit different today as it did back then. But we have years of experience of providing homeschooling to students, not just here in the UK, but around the globe. So we have many years of experience, and we have a fantastic reputation in the homeschooling environment. If you would like to perhaps hear some of those views from both existing families and past families, then please do have a look on Trustpilot. Just do a search for Wolsey Hall, and you'll be able to see what some other people choose to say about us. We do have a personal pathway approach for each and every student that comes through the virtual door of Wolsey Hall. We have learning choices that you can make as a family. We have flexibility in the courses that your child takes, the year groups that your child belong to for each of those subjects that you may choose to do with Wolsey Hall. We have flexibility in the number of subjects that you take with Wolsey Hall, and we have flexibility on when you start your studies with Wolsey Hall. So we really do pride ourselves on providing our families the ultimate flexibility to help wrap the homeschooling around your personal circumstances for both your child and you as a family. We also provide peace of mind, and I think that's really important in the world of information that we live in. There is so much noise and there is so much content around all of the subjects that are taught in schools. A simple search will show you that there are probably 10,000 choices for a subject at a particular phase of what you should be studying with your child. And it's really hard to navigate, and it's really hard to know exactly what's important, what's not so important in terms of making sure that you cover the curriculum that's needed to provide the knowledge and understanding that your child needs to accrue to get them to the examination years, and making sure that they've got the level of understanding, knowledge and skill needed to be successful in those critical examinations, which then lead them on to university or career pathway. So by following Wolsey Hall courses, as already mentioned, we are aligned to Cambridge, to Pearson EdExcel and the English National Curriculum. So if you're following Wolsey Hall courses, you're assured that your child is covering the key knowledge, understanding and skills that are required to be successful when they get to those examination years. And we also at Wolsey Hall pride ourselves on having a partnership with all of our families. We really do encourage, and we really do aspire to make sure that anyone joining Wolsey Hall feels part of a family, and that we are in partnership with both yourself and your child to help your child be successful in their learning journey. So for all of those reasons, we think that Wolsey Hall is a fantastic choice when looking at homeschooling and looking for someone who can help guide and support you through that homeschooling journey.
So to talk a little bit about how our courses are organised, because international grades are often different to the UK grading systems. So we have the lower primary phase of education. That starts from perhaps 3.5 to 4 years old, which would be the getting ready for, that's the GRFY1, getting ready for year 1, and takes you to the end of year 2, which is approximately age 7. The next phase is called the upper primary phase, and that covers years 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that is typically for students aged 7 to 11, followed by the lower secondary phase. So that is for students in years 7, 8, and 9, typically between age 11 and 14. Next comes the GCSE, IGCSE phase, which is the examination phase. That's years 10 and 11, typically students aged sort of 14 to 16. And the A-level phase, which comes after the GCSE, IGCSE phase for students typically aged 16 to 18. Now, I did mention earlier, though, that we have mature students, so it doesn't necessarily mean you must be those ages in order to study with Wolsey Hall. We are very flexible in our enrolments and have a very experienced team to help you decide on the course level that's right for your student.
Great, thank you, Jo. And just to reiterate what Jo said there, it's our admissions team are highly skilled at helping families find the right starting point for them. And it's just worth reiterating that if you're not sure where your child would fit in this, then you talk to our admissions team. They would be delighted to help you to figure out the right starting point for your child. And it may be that different subjects have different starting points. So just to share a little bit about how our courses work. So once you have been through the admissions process and our team has helped you to identify which subjects you would like your child to study, and we have identified or helped you to identify the right year group for your child to start on their learning journey, you are then added to the correct courses for your child on our learning platform, which is called Canvas. And you'll see a little bit more of that in a video that's upcoming that demonstrates what Canvas looks like. But Canvas is our learning platform, and it's very simple to use. So once you have been added to your courses for the agreed access date that you want to start your journey with Wolsey Hall, you then would spend a little bit of time in the orientation phase. For some people, this might be a couple of days. For other people, they may spend a week. And the orientation phase is really your opportunity to get to know the learning platform, clicking around, seeing how things work. We have an orientation course that you are added to when you begin your access, so that you can work through each section and it gives you advice, tips and information on all of the things that you need to prepare and consider right at the beginning of your learning journey. And the orientation period is an opportunity to meet your student progress manager, who is a key point of contact for you, but Jo will talk about your student progress manager, or SPM, a little bit more later. And it's also an opportunity for you to virtually meet your tutors as well, that will be helping to guide your child through their studies. So once you are comfortable and happy as a family that you're ready to go, then obviously you can start studying. And the beauty of studying with Wolsey Hall is that you can set the pace of study at home that suits your child and their needs. So every course has a 12-month access period, and every course in primary and lower secondary is the equivalent of 1 academic year of study in a mainstream school here in the UK. So if you were to join, for example, at year 5 and your child was studying year 5 English, then you have 12 months access to that year 5 English course. And by the time that your child has completed that course, you know that they have covered the key curriculum that they need to for year 5 English. And then if you would like to, you can re-enroll onto the year 6 English course, and so on. So just to reiterate that all of our courses in primary and lower secondary are the equivalent of 1 academic year of study in a mainstream school. When you reach the GCSE and A-level year groups, then each course represents 2 academic years of study, so that you cover the entire program of study required to take examinations. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So on the course itself, what can you expect to find? Well, our courses are a combination of lots of different things to help support your child in their learning journey. So courses will have textbooks attached to them if it's relevant for that particular course, and those will be physically sent to you right at the beginning when you enroll. So you have textbooks to complement the study that you are doing on your course. We have a number of web links to further learning or extension learning on our courses. We have subscriptions on a number of our courses. So if, for example, you were to join Year 7 Maths, you also get a personal login to My Maths to help support the learning that your child is doing on their maths course. Obviously, our courses are lesson-based. So in primary, our courses are written to an adult, and often the adult is the parent in the case of supporting their child with their study at home. So the lessons are really written to the parent to help guide the parent through the curriculum lessons on the course, so that you can guide your child and support them at home. When your child reaches secondary, so probably around 11 years old, then the courses are written directly to the student. So this recognizes the level of independence that your child has when they are reaching that secondary phase of Wolsey Hall. So we still expect and would like support from parents in the secondary phase as well. But the secondary phase does reflect the growing independence that your child will be showing in their studies. We also, in our lessons, try and put a number of different activities and tasks for your child to complete, not always online. So there is a combination of online and offline activities for your child to do. but also as well, we put videos in all of our courses, and these videos are critical, and the videos are how we differentiate ourselves from lots of other homeschooling providers. Wolsey Hall does not provide live online lessons at a set time every week. We have a different approach to homeschooling and a different approach to how we understand children learn best. Instead of having live lessons with a teacher talking at your child for 40 minutes, 50 minutes, we have recorded lessons and other information which we put onto our courses directly. This allows you and your child to watch a lesson or a piece of learning repeatedly if your child would like to consolidate and they just want to go through it again to aid understanding. Likewise, if it's something that actually you know that your child has covered already and that they actually are really confident in that particular skill, you can move quickly through that onto the next part. So this goes back to that flexibility. We don't apply a rigid timetable that you must adhere to in terms of being available online looking at a screen. We allow you the flexibility to work through the courses at your own pace so that you can revise things that you're finding tricky as a student, and you can accelerate through the areas that you are confident in and don't need to spend too much time on. The other thing about Wolsey Hall, which we love, is that not only do we cater to students globally in more than 125 countries, but of those students across the globe, there are a variety of locations that where students are based. So we can cater for those that are traveling around the world. We can cater for those that are living remotely in a country. The beauty of Wolsey Hall is as long as you have some kind of internet access, then you can access the homeschooling courses no matter where you are in the world, which is fantastic. So I hope that gives you a flavour of how our courses work in terms of joining Wolsey Hall and working through subjects with Wolsey Hall. I'm going to pass back to Jo at this point to tell you a little bit about the key people at Wolsey Hall.
So studying with Wolsey Hall, you have some very experienced staff to alongside you on your journey, and these staff are split into two categories. We have the tutors, who are the subject specialists and will be marking the assignments that your student submits, perhaps every 4 or 5 weeks of study. They will advise, once they've marked those, they will give you a good paragraph on what the student has done well, maybe some next steps, and be able to advise on how to obtain those next steps. There may be some virtual meetings at various points in the course, and this varies depending on the student's age. The tutors are also available via our Canvas learning platform. You may email them at any time in order to clarify or obtain further advice on something that your student requires. And the student may do that, or you may do that as a parent, depending on your student's age. So the tutor is a very experienced member of our staff. We're all UK qualified teachers, so you can feel rest assured that we have a very experienced tutor base supporting your student. Now, alongside the tutors, there is the student progress manager, and they are also an extremely experienced member of staff. They may help you to design your assignment schedule to make sure that this is correctly going to get your student finished if there's particular deadlines that they need to meet, for example, in the IGCSE or A-level phase. But they will also keep all students on track to make sure that that academic year where your courses are valid, your students will be on track in order to complete the assignments. Now, this assignment schedule is in consultation with you. So you may want to take breaks of study to have family holidays or fit in with other aspects of your family, and your student progress manager will support you to create that assignment schedule that fits in with your life. She also, or he will also check in with you to make sure that studies are as that you would expect. Perhaps you want some advice, you may not be able to find something. Your student progress manager would support you with those sorts of queries or questions. And they are also available via email to answer any questions that you might have. So there is a body of staff behind you. You're not just left to work through the courses. If you need anything at all, you're very welcome to email. If it's subject-based, your tutor, or if it's an organisational-based or a query, your student progress manager. So we'd now like to introduce you to Abdullah, who's one of our students, and this will give you a flavour of how he studies during a day with his Wolsey Hall courses.
Hi, I'm Abdullah. I'm from Singapore. I study in Wolsey Hall Oxford doing year 3 and 4. We live near the sea and this makes us enjoy the nature along with my studies. A typical day for me would be studying, playing, swimming, and spending lots of time with my family. I study maths and English from year 4 and geography, science, and computing from year 3. The day begins with printing out the lesson plans for the day, and after my mom explains them, I do the exercises on my own. Along with the exercises, I also sit with the computer to do activities online provided by Wolsey Hall Oxford. The online activities are interactive and it helps me to do the subjects like a game, and it's very interesting to me. Along with my regular studies, I get crafting activities from science and geography which gives me peace of mind, and I take great interest in doing so. My favorite game indoors is to play with building blocks. I love to color when I'm sitting idle. My mom prints out coloring pages and I love to spend my time coloring them. After studying 1 or 2 subjects, I go out to the playground with my brothers. Homeschooling has been an amazing experience as I finish my studies in time and get plenty of time to do self-development and build a memorable childhood.
Now, we hope you enjoyed that video via Abdullah. A couple of things to mention, really. You will have noticed that he sets the timetable, or his family sets the timetable. As Christine said, we don't have online live lessons, so the family would decide when they're going to study each of those subjects according to your own requirements. So that's great flexibility to fit around other aspects of your life. Abdullah also mentioned he was studying some year 4 and some year 3 subjects, and that's because he had particular strengths in English and maths, so he was able to enroll on that year 4 course. And you may have noticed as well that there is a range of online and offline activities. We don't expect students to be sitting in front of a computer screen all day. We've planned a variety of activities, both online and offline, so that students don't have that complete computing experience, which is definitely something we would want to avoid. So moving on to which courses we've got available to us, and I briefly mentioned earlier that the lower primary courses would be typically for students aged 3.5 to 4 years old up to the age of 7. And you'll notice English, Maths and Science are in blue. They're considered to be the core subjects, the really important subjects, and we would recommend those as being a minimum study. The Getting Ready for Year 1 English and Getting Ready for Year 1 Maths would be for younger students, 3.5 to 4 years old, before they moved into the lower primary phase, where you have that wider selection of subjects there. So we have English, Maths and Science, Humanities, which is a combination of history and geography as one subject. And as you can see, we've got art, French right from the beginning, so that would be a very early starting course for French. Skills for Life, which is a combination of managing day-to-day emotions and maybe perhaps pressures and feelings that children have at an appropriate level. Phonics is available, as is music, and that would be a very early level music right from the beginning, so learning notation from very early on. That phase is followed, as I said, by the upper primary, and that's covering years 3, 4, 5 and 6, typically students aged between 7 and 11. There's a few more subjects here. Again, we've got English, Maths and Science, the core subjects in blue. History and geography is studied separately at this level, so they're available as separate subjects. Computing, again, French. Now, students at this age can start the early level, so we have a complete flexibility in where you would start. So your student may not have studied French before, they may want to start at the beginning, they may have had some experience in French, and we would help you to decide which level of French they would enroll onto. Skills for Life, similar again, in terms of dealing with emotions, problems, situations, pressures for students in this age group, and art and music again. And similarly with music, we would help you enroll your student on the correct level according to their previous experience.
Thank you, Jo. So just moving on to secondary, we'd like to share a video of Steph, who's just going to share a little bit about her experience with Wolsey Hall. Now, Steph is the IGCSE phase, so she's in the examination phase. And so she's just going to share with you what learning looks like for her in kind of preparation and building up to those exams that she will take at the end of her course.
Well, hi, I'm Steph, a student that does IGCSEs at Wolsey Hall, and I'm here to show you my steps to preparing and completing an assignment.
Step 1. Canvas.
This is the app or website where you're going to get all the information and material you need to learn for your subjects. It is your ultimate learning source. On Canvas, you can do your modules and quizzes, turn your assignments in, receive your assignment marks, and message your tutors for any help. Canvas will be your best friend.
Step 2. Modules.
Every subject contains more or less 9 modules. Every module consists of topics where it gives you tasks you need to complete. Most module work will require you to read some pages, do various questions, and jot down some notes. For my first topic in Economics Module 5, I'll need to work through pages 124 to 125 in my course book. Then I'll need to write out some key points, and then I'm gonna have to check out this website they have linked. I usually like to note down any new definitions that I've just learned into my notebook, and I also write down any extra information that I need to remember.
Step 3. Quizzes.
At the end of each module, there is a quiz that awaits to be completed. This quiz is there to test your knowledge from what you've just learned. These quizzes are usually multiple choice, which makes it quite easy and super fun. It is definitely a great way to revise for your upcoming assignment, as you can retake them as many times as you want.
Step 4. Revision and preparation.
Before doing the assignments, it is important to revise and review everything you have just learned one last time. You can even do the quiz once more to make sure that you are fully prepared to do the assignment. Right before I start my assignment, I like to organize my desk space. I put out my assignment, my notebook, and a pen. And if I need to use my computer, I put that out as well.
Step 5. Assignments.
Now it's time to start. Every assignment has an instruction page where it will instruct you to either complete it under exam conditions or if it is an open book assignment. It will also show the recommended time limit, however you don't need to follow this as it is just an assignment. On my economics assignment 5 instructions, it says that I need to write on lined paper using a black pen. It also further says to upload your work on Canvas. However, it doesn't say anything about working in exam conditions, so this is an open book assignment. After I finished my assignment, I scan it on an app called Cam Scanner and then send it directly on Canvas.
Step 6. Marks and feedback.
Usually, marks and feedback from your tutor will be given back to you within a week. The feedback you get from your tutor is very helpful as it tells you what you've done correctly and what you must improve on. With the feedback, you also get the specimen answers sheet, which gives all the answers to the assignment. And to make the most of my feedback, I do the questions that I've gotten wrong once more. This is just to make sure that I've understood the module and won't do the same mistake twice.
So I hope you enjoyed seeing a little bit from Steph about what it's like being a GCSE student and preparing for examinations and completing assignments. So just to say on the assignments, so obviously at the level that Steph is at, then the assignments reflect that exam preparation that's needed for IGCSE and GCSE students. So they very much take into account the exam technique needed for examinations, as do the A-level courses as well. In primary and lower secondary, then assignments look a little bit different. As you can imagine, in primary in particular, assignments might be all sorts of different things. It may be requiring some kind of drawing, it may be requiring a little bit of writing, it may be requiring a video of your child reading. So assignments, although it's a scary word, they come in a whole range of guises that are appropriate to the age of the child studying. And as Joe mentioned already, they are dotted throughout a course. So it might be every 3 weeks, it might be every 4 weeks, it might be every 6 weeks, depending on the level that you are studying at. And the tutors give great care and attention to looking at those assignments, marking them, providing really useful feedback to your child to help them progress on their learning journey and allow you as parents the peace of mind that they are on track with the homeschooling that they are undertaking and that they are making the progress needed to be successful in the year group that they're studying at. You also will have noticed there that Steph obviously was very independent. She's been with Wolsey Hall for a while, and you can see from Abdullah, who has great confidence. You can see how that builds through the duration of time with Wolsey Hall. And Steph is a really good example of someone who's taken ownership of their learning. So just to move on to secondary, just going to share the courses with you and the subjects so that you know what is available. So in lower secondary, so that's years 7 to 9. Again, English, maths and science is in blue because they're considered still the core subjects. And you can see that English as a second language is available as well for those students who are not native English speakers and perhaps are looking for a different pathway to first language English courses. We also as well have 2 types of computing course. We have computing itself, which focuses more on coding, programming, so the kind of computer science skills. And we also have digital literacy, which is more aimed at someone who wants to be a universal global citizen and be able to use technology effectively in their day-to-day life and day-to-day job that they will have further down the line. So digital literacy is more of a focus on things like Word, Excel, so those things that are used in lots and lots of jobs out there. And it helps you to have a good all-round understanding of how to best use the software that we use in day-to-day life. So that's the difference between those two. We also have history and international history at lower secondary, and history follows a little bit more of UK and European based history as its context, whereas international history takes more of a global approach and looks at different cultures around the world, rather than that focus on the UK and Europe. You can take either of those, and either of those subjects will still lead you to history IGCSE. We have 3 different languages, German, French, and Spanish, that you can start in year 7. You don't need prior learning. There are different levels for German, French, and Spanish. So those who are new to those languages can start with the year 7 courses. Those that may have had some experience already of languages may need to start at a different year group for their languages, and we're completely flexible to do that and can help you find the right starting place for those subjects. We also have Latin and the Roman world as well, which again, it doesn't need prior knowledge of Latin to take those subjects. Now, in primary, we always say that you should be taking the core subjects as a minimum, so that English, maths, and science. But you really do and should have a breadth of subjects that you're studying both at primary and at lower secondary. So lower secondary, our recommendation would be that you really should be taking 5 subjects as a minimum. This is your child's opportunity to explore different subjects, see what they like, see what interests them, all in anticipation of then choosing subjects that they would like to study at GCSE level. So moving on, just talking a little bit more about examinations. So our 2 phases, the GCSE and IGCSE, and just to say that the I stands for international. So the only difference between GCSE and IGCSEs is that one has a slightly more international context to its focus. It's not assuming that everybody is familiar with the UK and the nuances of UK language. So the international GCSEs has a slightly more global context. A GCSE might have content in it that seems a little bit more UK centric. And the IGCSEs are the qualifications that people take outside of the UK. And GCSE tends to be what people in the UK take. But there is flexibility to do IGCSEs, even if you're based in the UK, that's fine. So all of our examination courses end up with your child, so the student, needing to take external examinations locally in the country that you are based in. And to help with that, because there are examination centres all across the globe that enable private candidates to undertake these external exams. So we have exams officers to help signpost you to the local examination centres close to you. We also have live information on exam centres as well. So if you are in the appropriate phase with Wolsey Hall, then you would be added to that on our learning platform so that you have easy access to local examination centres and those that we may already have a relationship with to help with that process of registering for an exam. It's also worth noting as well that if you are living somewhere fairly remote, or you're living in a place or a location that doesn't have local exam centres very close to where you are, you may need to travel to take those examinations. But our admissions team would be thrilled to talk to you about the location that you're in and access to local examination centres in the vicinity that you are living in. So if you're not sure, please do get in touch, and they can give you some more advice and some help about exam centres before enrolling with Wolsey Hall. And just to say that all of our exams are Cambridge exams, or they're Pearson Edexcel exams. Your child goes to the local exam centre. They take the exam under exam conditions. The papers are sent off to Cambridge or Pearson Edexcel for external marking. And then the scores are relayed back to the exam centre where you took your exams, or directly to you as the family. So Wolsey Hall are not involved in the marking of your exams for IGCSEs or A-levels. That is external by Cambridge approved markers and examiners, and Pearson Excel examiners as well. So I hope that gives you just a little bit of an idea about how external examinations work. But as I say, our admissions team will be thrilled to talk to you more about that if it's of interest, or your child is at that stage in their learning. So moving on to the IGCSE courses. So this represents years 10 and 11. So up until this point, every subject that you've seen, there is a course which is the equivalent of 1 academic year of study. Now we move into courses that represent 2 academic years of study in a physical school setting. So all of these courses that you see on the screen here are 2 years of study that lead to those external exams taking place. So English has now become even broader in choice. So it's split into English language and English literature. We also have English as a second language that you can take as an IGCSE subject. And also as well, maths is split as well. So you have maths, which is core maths that most people will take. Everybody in the UK will take core maths, but there's also additional maths as well for those students who have either a particular interest or a particular skill in mathematics to extend the learning even further. In the next column as well, you can see all of the sciences, and the sciences are now broken down a little bit more than they were in lower secondary. So now you can take a discrete scientific subject. So you're able to choose biology, chemistry, or physics as a standalone IGCSE subject, where you go into great depth in each of those subjects respectively. If your child knows that they like science, but actually they don't have any future plans to use science in either their university, college, or career, then it may be that coordinated sciences or combined sciences is the right choice for your child. So combined sciences is the equivalent of 1 IGCSE, but within that course, you still cover biology, chemistry, and physics, but to a lesser degree than you would be studying them if you were taking the discrete subjects. Likewise, coordinated sciences are the equivalent of 2 IGCSEs, And coordinated sciences, you're still taking biology, chemistry, and physics, but in more depth than you would if you were studying combined sciences. We also then have a host of other subjects that are available. So you can see French, Spanish, and German following through. If you were to choose Latin, you don't need to be proficient in Latin to study at IGCSE, but it would be great if you'd done Latin in the Roman world at lower secondary. And we have psychology and environmental management, which become available at IGCSE and GCSE level. So those would be new subjects for your child if they chose them at this point, which would be absolutely fine. So I hope that gives you a flavour of the subjects that you can choose at IGCSE and GCSE level. Now, in a mainstream UK school, most students would be choosing between 8 to 10 or 11 IGCSEs or equivalent that they're taking. So you might be, if coordinated science is in there, for example, that's worth 2 GCSEs. And so you'd factor that in. But we would say that a minimum of 5 GCSEs, IGCSEs should be taken by a student. However, if you are looking to go on to university or college and you are choosing competitive universities that have lots of applications, we would say that you really need to be at the higher end of that, and you need to be considering taking 8, 9, 10 GCSEs to make sure that you are competitive when it comes to applications further down the line. So moving on from there, we have AS and A-level courses. So AS just means it's that first year. So an A-level is a 2-year program. Some courses actually split that 2 years into kind of year 1 and year 2. And AS level is the year 1 part. And then you have the option of continuing to study in that subject, and it becomes the A level. Some courses are just an A level, so you don't have the option to kind of split it into an AS 1-year course. But again, if that sounds confusing, our admissions team are on hand and will be thrilled to talk you through and explain this in more detail to you. So when we get to A level and AS level, this is where we start to specialize as a student. So whereas at GCSE, IGCSE, we may have done 8 subjects, we may have done 10 subjects. When we get to AS and A level, then people tend to do 3 A levels or 4 A levels. I would say the majority take 3, but some take 4 A levels. So you really start to specialize. So this is where you're really starting to think about what your pathway is and where you want to go in that route to university, college, or a career. So if you are really interested in sciences and you are keen to develop your expertise and skill level in order to apply to university, then you would be choosing sciences. If you have a desire to work in publishing, then you really should be looking at having, English in there somewhere. So you really do need to think about how you marry your subjects to give you the best opportunity for applications to universities and colleges. But again, our team are on hand to help with that and to discuss your requirements and your needs with you to help guide you to the right choices. And of course, if you start with Wolsey Hall pre-A levels, if you're doing GCSEs with us, etc., then there would have been already some discussion around those pathways to suit. So I hope that gives you an idea of the A-level choices. I won't go into any further detail about these specific subjects, but of course you're welcome to ask a question in the Q&A if you do have more specific subject questions for A-level.
Thank you, Christine. So we also have additional support for families. In a traditional bricks and mortar school, you may well expect to have some advice, maybe with your students' well-being or perhaps career path advice. And Wolsey Hall is no different from that. So we are very aware that families need support. Perhaps their student has an additional learning need. You need some guidance on how to support your student with that learning need, or perhaps how to obtain special arrangements for examinations. And we have a very experienced learning support team who you would be very welcome to contact, make an appointment with, and they would be able to give you some advice regarding that. And in that similar vein, the Career and University Advisory Service, you may well need to know what your which subjects your student needs to study in order to achieve a specific pathway to university or to a specific industry that they're particularly interested in. So that may not be students that are taking their IGCSEs and A-levels. You may want to decide that earlier in the lower secondary phase. If your student is sort of 12, 13, 14, you might want to have recommendations for the subjects that would suit best their pathway if they've got a specific career path or a path in mind. So we have, as I say, experienced team members whom you could book a call with in order to get the same sort of information that you would expect as if you were in a traditional school setting. Similarly, we offer the reference service. So if your student needs a UCAS reference, for example, or if they needed a reference for any other specific need, then the reference service would be able to help you. So you can see that we actually cover the whole student experience here at Wolsey Hall Oxford. You would get the same sort of advice and recommendations as you would expect if you're in a physical school setting.
Thank you, Jo. And just to follow on from that and extend that even further, so not only do we have those additional services for families that require them and need assistance, but also as well, just to kind of finish off to say that here at Wolsey Hall, we really do value the holistic development of all of the students that are part of Wolsey Hall. We've been through the academic courses as the kind of the crux of learning, but actually there are other things as well that Wolsey Hall provide as part of the Wolsey Hall experience. So both primary and secondary have community sites that are secure places with access to different clubs. So those clubs are Lego club in primary, there's a book club, lower secondary has a debate club. So there's all sorts of different clubs that your child can participate in if they choose to. We also have things like a virtual library. We have a chess community that you can sign up to be part of. We run competitions throughout the year to encourage students to participate in Wolsey Hall extracurricular activities. In primary, we have a newsletter that goes out every month to give you updates on what's new in primary and tips and advice for supporting your child at home. In secondary, we have a student forum which allows, in a safe space, students to connect and chat to each other and share interests with one another, which is fabulous. And we also as well have very active Facebook pages, both for primary and for secondary parents. And that is often the starting point for getting to know other families and making connections with other Wolsey Hall families that are in the same location to you. And we also have a family liaison officer as well at Wolsey Hall. And for those families that are eager to connect with another family that might be in the same country to find out a little bit more about their Wolsey Hall experience and how they're finding it, we can help make that connection. So just a few ways to demonstrate how it's not just about the academic courses themselves with Wolsey Hall, but actually it's a more holistic approach for that. And it's looking for opportunities to develop both academically, but socially and personally as well, and to instill kind of greater interest than just school. So I hope you found all of that information useful. I'm going to pass you back to Lynn at this point.
Okay, thank you very much, Christine and Joe. So we're now going to move into our Q&A section. So please do feel free to start typing your questions into the Q&A area at the bottom. As mentioned previously, if you can let us know the age and level of current level of education your child is at, it makes it a lot easier for us to give a sort of a more tailored response to you. So our team in the Q&A are going to be busy typing some answers. And I'll also introduce some of the questions that we've received into the general discussion so that Christine and Joe can expand a little bit on the answers for you. So the first question that we have is, can you give an idea of some of the offline learning activities that my child will be doing?
Oh gosh, well, I can start with that. It really does depend on the subject and the course and the level that you are at as to what those offline activities may be. As I mentioned when I was going through the courses, then a lot of our courses come with a textbook, a physical textbook, and that's purposeful. So that you have opportunities to take yourself away from a computer screen and actually use what some consider now to be old-fashioned, a physical book, to actually do some learning away from screen time. We have, if you're doing a subject like art, for example, then most of your time is not in front of a computer. Most of your time is actually working creatively. It's creating things in order to share those with your tutor. And in Abdullah's video, for example, you could see he was working on a geography project that was in his geography course. I think you could see him painting a paper mache balloon because he was working on a project to make the Earth in that particular case. But again, rather than just showing a picture of the Earth and a quick description online, it was taking him away to do a physical activity to help bring it to life. So it really does depend. In science, obviously, we have experiments that are safe to do at home. And so again, that's to bring you away from the computer, not just learning theoretically the scientific reactions that take place, but taking you offline to actually carry out those experiments yourself. So I think it's too broad to kind of cover, but there are a number of different offline activities across courses. But it's worth saying that depending on the subject, some lend themselves more to being online. So if you're taking computing, the chances are your activities relate and your tasks relating to that subject are going to be online. So it's just worth making the distinction that some subjects lend themselves more to being offline, some to being online.
Thank you, Christine. I think that gives us a good flavour of the type of activities and the fact that the courses really aren't a child sat in front of a computer, but they're actually off doing lots of other different things all through the courses. So the next question, I think, Joe, this might be a good one for you. Can you tell me more about what happens in an admissions call and how are these arranged? Are they a video call or by mobile? How does it all work?
Thank you, Lynn. So I'm lucky enough to be on the admissions team as well as the supervisor of courses for primary. But the admissions calls would be, you would book or make an initial inquiry. Tamara will explain how that takes place in just a moment. From there, we would book a call at a mutually convenient time where we would discuss your student's background. Perhaps we would offer, depending on the age, some ready tests to decide on their current skill level. Those tests may be in different year groups. So it may be perhaps your student is really strong in maths, but not so strong in English. So we would be able to provide a different level of ready test to check perhaps, or younger children have an entry placement check that we may send to get completed. So the admissions team are very experienced at guiding you through this whole process, providing you with samples of our courses, which also have the first assignment on to give you a really good understanding of what the courses look like, what the first assignment might look like. Then, as I say, we would be able to provide some additional materials. Maybe we would request a sample of writing or reading, for example, to make sure that we get the level that's correct for your student. With all of our courses, however, you have 45 days to transfer to a different level of course. So perhaps your student didn't perform particularly well or didn't show something particularly at their best standard. And perhaps once you get started on the course, they are ready for the next level, or equally that level may be too hard and you'd enroll them on the previous level. You are very welcome to contact your student progress manager and to transfer your student to a different level within the first 45 days from the access date, for the cost of new textbooks if those textbooks are on the course. So hopefully that answers your question, Lynn.
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you very much, Joe. So do you have any learning reports? Do you provide reports?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I thought that was an extension of what was what Joe was talking about. So yes, we do. So we have a couple of different things. So in primary, we send a progress report at various points in your journey on a course. And at the end of the course, you receive an end of year report for the number of subjects that you have chosen to take with Wolsey Hall. And these reports are fantastic pieces of evidence to show the curriculum and the learning and the progress that your child has made with Wolsey Hall. And they are really useful bits of evidence if you're in a country where your education authority needs some evidence that your child is homeschooling in a structured way. And those end of year reports run throughout Wolsey Hall. So whether you're in primary, whether you're in lower secondary, IGAL, you still do get an end of year report to demonstrate your study with Wolsey Hall. We're sometimes asked for transcripts as well, and we can accommodate those too if needed.
Thank you, Christine. I think this is specifically about GCSE, but I think it's also relevant for other levels. If a child has started GCSE and they're in year 10 in a mainstream school, can they join Wolsey Hall? And could they change subjects if they don't particularly like the ones that they're doing, I guess, in mainstream school? Or would they have to just continue with the same subjects regardless?
Okay, so if I start with the second part first, because that's the easy bit. So Wolsey Hall doesn't have any mandate to say to you that your child must continue on the subject that they started in their mainstream school. So if your child really doesn't enjoy what they have been learning and would like to take a new subject instead, that's perfectly possible with Wolsey Hall. However, there will be conversations that need to take place around that before you enroll onto a new subject. It depends what the subject is, whether the subject needed some prior learning as well, and whether you have reports or something to show that that prior learning has taken place. So in principle, yes, you could drop a subject that you've been doing in a mainstream school and you could choose a different one when you join Wolsey Hall. It would also matter where you are in the journey as well. If you're at the end of year 10 and you're saying, well, actually, I'm going to drop my subject now, I'm going to take a new one with Wolsey Hall, and I'd like to still do the exam in 5 months' time, that probably presents a few issues that would need to be discussed with the admissions team as to when the best exam sitting is under those circumstances. So in terms of, so I hope that answers, it's not a straightforward yes or no, but in principle, yes, you are not required to continue anything you start in a mainstream school with Wolsey Hall, and you can choose whichever subjects you'd like to within the parameters of any prerequisite. In terms of continuing with a course that you have started, a subject that you started in a mainstream school, it is absolutely possible to do that. But again, it requires a conversation with our admissions team, because every subject that's taught in a mainstream school is following a program of study that is set by the examination board that you are going to be taking in that mainstream school. So Wolsey Hall may have a course for a different examination board to the one that you were going to enter in the mainstream school setting that you were in. So it's really important to talk to our admissions team so we can double check that you are on the same program of study. And if it's not the same program of study, identify how different it is to be able to advise on whether a straightforward switch to Wolsey Hall in the same subject would be viable. So again, a bit long-winded, Lynn. I think I'm saying that all roads lead to admissions.
Yes, I think you do. Yes. Thank you very much, Christine. As we are running out of time now, I would like to introduce Tamara from our admissions team, and I'd like to ask Tamara one final question, which is, and I actually have seen this in the Q&A as well, so I'm really glad that we've introduced this one as well. So if I still have questions about homeschooling with Wolsey Hall Oxford, how can I go about getting these answered?
Hello. So you go onto the Wolsey Hall website, sorry, and you fill in an inquiry form, and you'll see the link on the screen in front of you as well. That will come to our admissions team. We'll then send you some tailored information for your child's studies, and we'll also arrange an admissions call or meeting with you to discuss their studies further. As Jo mentioned, part of that might be online ready tests or placement checks, depending on their age. So the first step, please, is to fill in an inquiry form on the Wolsey Hall website. As I say, the link's on the screen in front of you as well.
Thank you, Tamara. So I'd like to extend a really big thank you to everyone for joining us today. I hope you found this session really useful and that it's given you a really good understanding of homeschooling with Wolsey Hall. As Tamara has said, if you do have any further questions, then please do go to our website. The links are all showing on the screen at the moment, and send in an inquiry form, and our admissions team will be very happy to talk to you on a one-to-one basis, confidentially, about everything and anything to do with your child and the sort of tailored education that you're looking for them. I can see that my colleagues are busily typing up their final answers, so I will leave the webinar open for a very short time just to get those last ones finished. But once again, a really big thank you to everyone, and have a great rest of day. Thank you very much.